Hello. My name is Shrishti, your digital presenter for today's event. Before we dive into the exciting and informative content we've prepared for you, here's a quick disclaimer. I'm actually an artificial intelligence (AI) designed and programmed to assist with sharing valuable knowledge and resources. I am here to provide evidence-based, up-to-date information and guidance, and will be sharing real stories from my colleagues at FND. Here at FND, we value honesty and transparency in all our interactions. We, at the Family Network on Disabilities, believe that the incredible advancements in technology, such as AI, can significantly enhance our ability to provide families with the resources, support, and information they need. All the information shared in this training comes from the dedicated team of experts at FND who have years of experience, rich understanding, and most importantly, a deep passion for supporting families just like yours. Family Network on Disabilities began in 1985 by a group of parents of children with disabilities who came together looking for mutual support. FND is a grassroots organization for persons with disabilities and their families that is family-centered and family-driven. What makes FND unique is that the majority of our board members, our management staff and program staff are either individuals with experience with a disability or have family members with a disability, which gives us the perspective of empathy and compassion for the work that we do. Before we begin, I'd like to share a little bit about Family Network on Disabilities. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization helping families across the state. We're funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Health through the Health Resources Services Administration. We use all that funding to provide information, resources, and support, and training to families, educators, professionals, and providers throughout the state. We do not charge for our services. At this time, we would like to make a disclaimer that we at FND are not attorneys, doctors, or mental health professionals. We do not offer legal or medical advice in our workshops. We are happy to support you with information, resources, and support. We use research-based information in our training and materials. Today we're going to be talking about how to participate in virtual meetings. So let's get started. In-person and virtual meetings, what is the difference in expectations? Nothing. There is no difference whatsoever. It has to be treated with the exact same expectations. There is no change in your child's rights under IDEA or your rights under IDEA as the parent. And so it has to be the exact same meeting. They still have to go through the IEP. Everybody has to introduce themselves. There will be minutes, there will be decisions made, there will be brainstorming, hopefully, and there will be conversations and input. It's just the same as the physical and in-person IEP. Before you go to your IEP meeting, are you going to receive prior written notice, and should you receive one for a virtual meeting? Absolutely. There is a burden on the school district to find a time that not only works for their IEP team, but also for the family. Sometimes they'll suggest a date and it's not a good date for the family. Regardless of what is said, just know that if that's not a date for you, you do not have to waive your right to participation. They have to be accommodating within the scheduling. Whenever you get a prior written notice, it's saying that something is being proposed to initiate. Maybe they're looking to change something. This could be anything from the evaluation, the identification, educational placements, changes to the IEP. Any one of those is going to trigger a prior written notice. That works both ways. If the school is proposing to initiate or change the identification or an evaluation or the placement or IEP goals, whatever it might be, whether they initiate it or whether the parents put it in formal writing saying we want our child evaluated or we want the placement looked at. Either way, there's going to have to be a prior written notice. If you are the one who's seeking this, you'll get the notice saying, yes, we're going to have this meeting. Will you be available? Or you will get one saying, no, we are not looking at that or we're not doing that. Then again, you'll still get your prior written notice explaining how they came to that decision, why that is not being entertained. As a parent or as a student who is learning to self-advocate, can you request a meeting in a virtual format? Absolutely. Section 303(22) of the federal law, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, does say that we as parents and you as students can request that meeting in a virtual format. You can also do it the opposite way. If the school is suggesting a virtual meeting or a phone conference meeting and you feel very firmly about being in the meeting in person, then you can demand that as well. Both of those meeting types are supported by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. How do I prepare for a virtual meeting? So for some of our students, the minute that they turn 18, they will have reached the age of majority and they will be the actual decision maker and stakeholder on that IEP. If you're somebody that's learning how all of this works and you're getting ready to turn 18, then you need to know all this stuff. This is going to become what you're doing with your life now. Whether it's a parent or whether it's you yourself preparing for that IEP meeting, make sure that you understand the main reason for that meeting. Sometimes we get calls from families and the school is proposing a meeting, but the family is not sure. Is it a teacher conference? Is it an IEP? What are they doing? It should be stated on the prior written notice. If you don't understand it after that, you have the right to call your school and have it explained to you. Likewise, you can also call the Family Network on Disabilities and we'd be happy to go over what's happening and help you prepare in whichever way you need to. That invitation, that prior written notice, it will have a proposed date and time. You have the right to propose a new date and time if for whatever reason you are unavailable. You won't have a vehicle that day, you have a doctor's appointment, you have jury duty, one of your children is sick, somebody is going to have surgery that week. It doesn't matter. You do not have to even list the reason why that date doesn't work for you. You just have to politely sign it saying that you are not waiving your right to participation, but that date does not work for me. You want to confirm in advance if it's going to be a virtual meeting, if it's going to be an in-person meeting. Make sure if it's a virtual meeting that you have the links, that you have the programs, that you're familiar with them, that you know how to use them. Typically, school districts will either use Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and these are both free programs, but make sure that you have them downloaded and you've practiced so that way at the big moment you're not having technical issues. You know how this works and you feel comfortable with it. That even includes testing your webcam, your speaker, all of that stuff, making sure it's all plugged in. So if you don't have a computer or a smartphone and they want to have a virtual meeting, you can request a phone number to join in via a conference call. The next step that you're going to do is request a list of all of the participants, everybody who's coming from the school side and the district side. Make sure that you get a copy of the agenda for that meeting. Make sure you get a copy of the IEP at least a week prior to that meeting. The reason that we ask to do that is because it gives you time to read it. In that meeting, it's a finite amount of time, so you don't have all day with everybody there. You may have about 30 minutes to an hour. We don't want to waste this time having somebody read the IEP to us. If we have read it in advance, we know what it says. We have either agreed or disagreed or thought about things that we could add. Reading it and then going over insights with other professionals, such as a therapist, could be very helpful. Whatever the reason is, you want to look at that IEP a week in advance and make sure that it's addressing all of the needs, that the goals changed from the previous year, that they're realistic. How do you request a virtual meeting? We would always say to make sure you have this in writing, and what we mean by that is either one of two scenarios. 1. You email it, and that way you can email it to all of the members of your IEP team. You can email it to the teacher, to your school's district representative, the ESE person that sits in the meetings, the principal. You can just create one email, see them all, and put that request in writing. If you live in an area that the internet isn't so great, maybe you don't have a computer, that's fine too. You can make a written request and walk it into that school office. Now, unless it gets a received stamp, there's no proof that that was actually submitted. You're going to go to that office and you're going to request that they stamp it with the request received, and that gives you a date. That way you're starting your timelines for after X amount of time there should be a response. How to join a Zoom meeting? It's easy peasy. All you have to do is go to zoom.us/download. Just Google Zoom, it'll pop up. It is a free download and you just go in there, you open it up, sign in, and give yourself a profile and a password. Then when you're going to do meetings, every meeting will have a 10-digit meeting ID number. It will request that you put that in and that will identify what meeting it is. There's usually a password, which was sent to you by whoever is hosting that meeting. Again, if you've never used this before, feel free to try. And again, if you don't like it, or if you do prefer that physical in person or over the phone, just know that those are also options that are available to you. Some of these pictures are showing that there's some different ways that you can connect to Zoom. You can do it on your smartphone, you can do it on your laptop or desktop. There will usually be a call-in number that it's done by the host, so you can also call in with that number and join that meeting as well. That's with a standard old rotary phone, even any phone whatsoever, as long as you can dial, then you'd be able to join that meeting. This is how to join a GoToMeeting session. When you're invited to a meeting, you'll have a unique link that is included in those session details, and that's the join URL. If you don't have the join URL or you're having trouble being automatically launched into the session, you can join manually by entering the session ID. So much like Zoom, each session or each meeting will have a number that you can put in if you're having issues. If you're on a mobile device, just make sure that you download either the iOS, the Android, or the Windows app for it, test it out, make sure that it's running and it's working well before that meeting date. You can go to support.goto.com/meetings/systemstech, and that'll just make sure that you're all good to go before that starts. How to join Adobe Connect meetings. So this is one that you might run into. You're going to need to, of course, download Adobe Connect. You join the meeting either as a guest or a registered user. That's something that you can decide. If you think you're going to use it again, go ahead and make that account. If you think it's just for today, then maybe you could just do it as guest. You're going to click on the invitation link that you received to join, and you're going to get that in an email or in a message. Log into the meeting room, again, either as a guest or as a user if you make the account. Then you're going to enter the room and you're going to give your login and your password. Then you click Enter Room, and there you are. So again, you can just Google Adobe Connect, it will pop right up. It is also a free program with free downloads. How to join a Google Hangout and meet. Google Hangout is a digital communication tool that is developed by Google, and it allows people to come together and have a hangout together virtually. It's much the same as our Adobe, our GoTo, as our Zoom. You're going to want to go to hangouts.google. You can also just Google Hangouts. It will pop right up. When you click on that, there's going to be 3 dots on the inside left of the screen, and then you click Invites. You follow the on-screen prompts that are going to come up to join the meeting. Once you click through to a meeting, you're going to be placed in a waiting room and you just hit Join to enter the video chat. Can initial and annual IEP meetings be held virtually, including transition IEPs and individualized family support plans? Those are ones that are covered under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act from 0 to 3. They would be covered under that IFSPs. That's not as relevant to us at this juncture, but they're covered under IDEA. The question is, can we have these? Absolutely. As we have already said, the Office of Special Education Programs, which is OSEP, that is within our national U.S. Department of Education, it is written into the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. We know IDEA is a federal law, which means it supersedes or it is more valid than whatever the state says. And so IDEA 300.328 clearly states that we can have initial, annual, follow-up, transition, any kind of IEP or 504 plan. And again, you're not covered under IDEA if you have a 504, but if you're having a 504 plan, this does include you too. You can still have it virtually. That is still all right that you have. This is a great resource. We have a ton of free downloadable webinars on our website, which is www.fndusa.org, and this is just one of many. So especially if you're coming to age, but you really don't know and you want to get some ideas, or you can go in there with your family as well. We have these one-pagers here that make things very simplistic, but is coming again from those highly vetted sources for procedures, timelines, protocols. So this is our one-pager, the sample virtual IEP meeting agenda. This covers the meeting roles including the facilitator, who explains the purpose of the meeting and keeps the participants on task, the timekeeper, who times each section of the meeting and helps the team adhere to the allotted time, the scribe, who takes informal notes, and the note-taker, who takes formal notes for the documentation in the IEP template. Meeting norms include using the most accessible technology for everyone and to use video, if available, to avoid multitasking or doing other work, to encourage team members' participation, and to keep focused on the students' needs. Let's go over the steps of an IEP meeting. Step 1 is for the facilitator to make introductions, review the norms and agenda. Step 2 is to review the students' present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. 3 is to identify measurable annual goals for the student that addresses their identified needs. 4 is to state the special education and related services, alongside aids, supplementary services, program modifications, or supports for school personnel. 5. Address other sections of the IEP. Finally, 6. Wrap up and discuss the next steps. Here you can see our FND. Family. These are the programs housed under the Family Network on Disabilities. Each program provides a unique service to a specific population. There are 3 PTI programs, funded by the U.S. Department of Education through the Office of Special Education Programs. POPN serves North Florida, PSN serves Southwest Florida, and PEN serves Southeast Florida. The Family Star program, funded by the U.S. Department of Health under the Health Resources Services Administration and supports families of youth with special health care needs. FND also has a special needs trust where we provide families with information regarding creating and supporting a special needs trust. We also do programming specific to fathers raising children with disabilities. Here you can see links for multiple downloadable resources available in various languages. You can also see some of our social media platforms. We have various pages on Facebook addressing the needs of different populations and our programs. I invite you to check out our website at www.fndusa.org for the hundreds of pages of resources and invaluable information that you can access and download at no charge. You can reach us to help you and your family by giving us a call at 800-825-5736 and letting us know your needs. You'll be assigned to a staff person who can support you. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Visit our website for valuable resources and more information. We want to thank you for spending this time with us during this presentation. We look forward to hearing from you.